These overlooked photos aren't just snapshots. They're windows into the past that challenge how we understand history. What if we could unravel those stories together? Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind moments captured in time. After inventing slapstick comedy in over 41 years of partnership, Laurel and Hardy made their last appearance on May 8, 1956, in Worthing, England. The scene depicted was the reunion event to reminisce about the comedy movies and to celebrate the stars due to which people had laughter in their hearts during Hollywood's greatest years. By this time, both the men had become weak in their health too. Oliver Hardy, paralyzed after a series of strokes and severely malnourished, weighed little more than 100 pounds. Stan Laurel, though still sharp mentally, was barely able to stand. For the fans, it was the reunion of their favorite heroes, but the heroes have changed their roles. The once vibrant stars were now frail, playing a supporting role to younger talent. It was a sweet moment with an undercurrent of time and progress. Their appearance that day marked the end of one of the most illustrious comedy careers of the 20th century. Though they would never perform together again, Laurel and Hardy's impact would continue for generations. Their legacy of humor remains indelible, a timeless reminder of how laughter connects generations and transcends time. Over 6 decades ago, on August 13, 1961, the construction of the Berlin Wall started and tore apart families, friends, and people. The narrative is set in the Cold War period within the East-West divided city, which amplifies the sense of tension. However, what happened was an act of sheer humanity. Amid the chaos, a soldier from East Germany was forced by conscience to allow a young boy to cross the newly drawn wall to join his family in West Berlin. The scene was brief and sensitive, yet conveyed an apparent incitement of people's suffering due to enmity. The soldier, risking severe punishment, defied orders for a simple yet profound reason: the crying boy and the desire to have a family. In that brief moment, was he thinking about the boy's future or the consequences he might face? Or perhaps, like many acts of quiet rebellion, he simply did what was right. Whether alive or dead, the soldier's heroism is evident, and his story is a poignant reminder of the fact that every person possesses the capacity to extend an act of kindness amid overwhelming evil. The Woodstock Music Festival in August 1969 stands as one of the iconic festivals of the counterculture movement, where over 400,000 people came together to celebrate 3 days of music, love, and togetherness. Lost in the crowd and thus unnoticed, Nick and Bobby Erkeline embraced each other and thus were depicted on the cover of the album, which became a symbol of the epoch. Wrapped up in a blanket, their picture reflected the atmosphere of the festival, love, and unity. If you are wondering what happened to Nick and Bobby, let me tell you, they were dating when this photo was taken in 1969 and later married. They were together for over 54 years until Bobby's passing in 2023. Their relationship remains a beautiful testament to the lasting impact of Woodstock and the love it symbolizes. Looking at their story, one can see that Woodstock is not only about the music, but most importantly, about people who met there, breaking all the barriers of time. This is because it serves the best interest of reminding people of love in this world, amid the various forms of historical destruction. In the early 1990s, Hollywood saw the rise of 3 charismatic actors who would come to define a generation: Leonardo DiCaprio, Johnny Depp, and Brad Pitt. At their young age, they appeared charismatic and full of potential, constantly breaking hearts and news headlines as they established themselves in an industry that is constantly seeking new talents. While Depp was already receiving recognition from his stint in 21 Jump Street in the late 1980s, he was in the process of trying to get on better roles, while Pitt found instant overnight fame after his appearance on 1991's Thelma and Louise. In contrast, DiCaprio, the youngest of the 3, acted in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993, and gave a very natural performance. This reflects their youthfulness, energy, and orientation to take the bets that suggest stardom on the stage at a young age. In these early roles, they embodied the raw energy and promise of youth, making indelible marks on both Hollywood and pop culture. Photographed in 1971, ornithologist Jerry McGahan was holding a 6-month-old Andean condor, which was found in South America. At that time, the Andean condor was threatened by habitat destruction and hunting, so conservation measures were important. By demonstrating an emerging global consciousness of nature's vulnerability and the consequent call for the preservation of species on the brink, Magayan's projects reflect the concerns of postmodernism. The snapshot of the moment when the scientist was taking a photo of a bird was not only the narration of a biological view, but an illustration of the relationship between human beings and birds. That being said, standing beside the young condor, Magayan represented the spirit of preserving, studying, and admiring the works of nature. This image has more relevance than when it was made, as it has a role to play in environmental management in an effort to increase biodiversity. Magayan's commitment continues to inspire global conservation efforts, reminding us that even small actions can help preserve our planet's most fragile creatures. Once, in 1885, during an expedition deep in the Honduras jungle, archaeologists discovered the statue of Maya that shed light into the unknown civilization. The statue depicting Maya iconography and motifs was unearthed at the ruins of Copan, an erstwhile Maya city. It was made as an artifact discovery amid a rise in archaeological digs in the 19th century to learn more about the Mayans, who had a long-standing civilization spanning down to 900 CE. Thus, the intervention of a statue provoked in equal measure admiration and concern, revealing the sophistication, religion, culture, and history of the Maya civilization. It served as a precursor to other discoveries of more cultural heritage that was buried in the Americas. This discovery is a reminder of the profound cultural heritage left behind by ancient civilizations and the importance of preserving it for future generations. Such findings encourage us to reflect on the cultural values of past societies and the crucial need to protect and honor these legacies for the future. This was captured on November 9, 1989, right when the wall was about to be brought down. You have a young man and woman kissing. The wall, as a barrier since 1961, divided northeast and southwest Berlin for about 28 years to split families, friends, and lives. However, by 1989, protests and political changes demonstrated that the Berlin Wall was about to come down. Still, when people listened to the music, they could feel it within them to change. The kind of kiss shared by the two lovers was a symbol of love, rebellion, and desire to be free. It represented hope and togetherness against decades of oppression. The wall would fall 6 months later, but in that kiss, a new world was already being born. It was a brief, sweet moment of unity and freedom before the actual barrier would crumble, but it spoke to a deeper shift in human connection and possibility. At the beginning of the year 1980, punk rock music was hit at its high, consequently disrupting more conventional forms of music and culture. I remember Slim from the Slits doing a solo gig at London's legendary Alexandra Palace, which was quite thrilling. Often categorized under the punk reggae category, the Slits remain among the earliest bands to popularize the now popular punk reggae sounds, while advocating for appropriate representation of women in music. Albertine, with her fierce stage presence and new wave guitar skills, epitomized punk, raw, rebellious, and unapologetically real. And that night, her performance was not only a display of her musical talent, but also a protest against the norms of the period when women's performances were rare in the male-dominated world. The spectators, who were true punks, fans, and ordinary people, saw the spirit of the epoch in the making. In sum, Albertine's input in punk is commendable. It should not be forgotten that music at its best is anarchic, inspiring, and provocative. Those are the values that artists take along with them even today. In the year 1970 at Wallsend, England, people were at work creating the Esso Hibernia tanker, a large vessel that would transport oil long distances. The size of the project can be attributed to the period of the Industrial Revolution, which commenced post-war, and the growth in international business and exploration of oil. This ship was under construction at Swan Hunter Shipyard, a company with a background in shipbuilding that was one of the biggest global companies at that time. Such a massive structure was not a mere engineering marvel, but also manifested a change in society. They were seeing the future of oil, and the role it would come to play in the world's economy through the 21st century and beyond. To the workers involved, it was a moment to cheer and add to the flow of the construction of ships that would endure for years. As this picture represents both the industrial period and world trade liberalization, it is a great opportunity to think about the engineering masterpieces that form today's world. The first ever photo session of the Rolling Stones was conducted on May 4th, 1963, and it was the start of one of the most legendary bands in the rock music industry. This was taken by Diezo Hoffmann, a popular photographer who took pictures of the band, which was still in its infancy but later became the group's identity with its rebellious imagery. Though not yet the global icons they would become, the chemistry between Mick Jagger, Keith Richards and the rest of the band was already palpable. This photo session occurred at the time when the British invasion was at its best, and bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were changing the face of music and popular culture for good. With their attitude and overall appearance as rebels with the nascent feel of rock and roll and the charm the band's members conveyed, the youth of the 1960s were poised to follow a new cultural paradigm. It is good to be reminded that stardom is not always how it is planned, and that minor events quickly become significant, setting the pace for altering music and culture. During April and May 1995, at the time when the Croatian War of Independence was nearing its conclusion, a very moving and dramatic scene between two Croatian citizens, Ira and Marianne, was shot. Their kiss was photographed, and the relieved feeling that comes with a long-fought victory after a long civil war. The war started in 1991 and was a war of liberation from the former Yugoslav Federation, with families being destroyed and cities razed to the ground. Their embrace meant not only the reunion of two people but also a nation coming together, since the families of Ira and Marian symbolized millions of separated ones. Time was also 2005 rich for scenes like this one, and as the war ended, the nation started a long process of rebuilding, which is what such a cheerful moment depicted. This image helps to explain how love can triumph even in the worst, and how humanity can matter in the middle of hostilities. Thank you for revealing the stills of the past with us. If you enjoyed this story, you'll love these. Remember, behind every still a story unfolds.